Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at a game that I just played where I was completely winning and I managed to fumble it so hard that I lost. And we're just going to be getting into the chess because it's really embarrassing. So, okay, I start off with the game with pawn to d4, my opponent goes knight f6, bishop g5, the only opening that I play, and my opponent goes e6. The line that we follow this time is the line with pawn to e4 immediately, which is taking a huge center in the middle, taking a huge pawn cluster in the middle, adequately named the big center variation. And the point is that we are just taking space, and my opponent's going to have to do something about it. Most people here, if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to be playing a move like bishop d7 and getting into a worse position. My opponent, being good at the game, knows what he's doing in this line and plays the move pawn to h6. And the line goes like this. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, and knight to f3. And eventually, the ideas in this position are I'm going to expand in the center, like a move like this, like a move like c4, knight c3, and my opponent's going to be playing against that, going to argue that I've overexpanded, and the dynamics work out, and everything is eventually equal in the position. My opponent starts this little line off by going in an interesting direction with the move pawn to g6, which is an interesting way to play. It really is. It's an interesting way to play. Obviously, he wants to go bishop g7, put some pressure on my center. He wants to play a move like c5 eventually, do something over here on the b2 square maybe. And okay, I'm still in kind of my ideas, and I know that in some of these lines, I kind of just go with whatever I want to do. I play a move like c4. I'm going to go play a move like e5. I'm going to play a move like knight c3. Computer gives us as an accuracy. In reality, it's completely fine. And I'm just going to be playing normal moves, going to be trying to get some sort of advantage. My opponent goes bishop to g7. I play the move knight to c3. Pretty standard stuff, developing pieces. And my opponent goes knight to c6, attacking the pawn on d4. And here is my first point where I actually have to think about the position. Because, okay, I might be able to make a mistake if I don't play in the most accurate way. And I end up making a mistake. My first intention was, okay, I want to play this move pawn to e5. The point is that I'm going to be stopping this little thing over here. I'm going to be blunting that. And if my opponent plays a move like d6 in the future, I think I'm going to have some tactics against it. I should be fine. Unfortunately, I should be fine is not very good analysis, and I shouldn't have really thought that way. I should have been more concrete, been more real, and if I had been more concrete, I probably would have found the move pawn to d5, which makes a decent amount of sense. I didn't want to play this because it opens up my opponent's dark stored bishop, but actually this is the best way to play since my pawns, after the trade, aren't actually going to be that weak, and if my opponent wants to trade the knights and the queens, then white is just going to be completely equal. It's going to be completely fine. There should be no real pressure. Instead, I played move pawn to e5, which is okay. My opponent goes queen to e7, and I decide, okay, I could play some stuff. My immediate intention was pawn to a3, but then I thought better of it because, okay, this isn't really a threat after queen b3. And I decided instead, well, I'm just going to develop some pieces, figure it out. I'm going to play the move bishop d3, which makes a lot of sense. However, the position is already pretty bad after my opponent's next move, pawn to d6. Because if I lose control of the center, I can actually get into some real issues. Like if I get a pawn island here, well, not really a pawn island, but an kind of advanced pawn on e5, it's going to be more of an asset, a liability than an asset, because my opponent's going to be able to easily attack it and take it before I can defend it properly. So here I really have to think about how to get out of this pickle. If I go with a move like e takes d6, I just thought that I was going to be losing the pawn. Like after e takes d6, my opponent probably isn't going to take with the queen, but we're going to take with the pawn, and this pawn is going to be hanging on d4. While the pawn is hanging on d4, we can put that on the board here. While the pawn is hanging on d4, I didn't really know how to defend it. Like if I play a move like bishop bishop to e4, which makes some sense, I thought my opponent could already have some tactics here. Like for example, here my opponent can play the move pawn to d5, which I realized. And after c takes, of course, e takes. this pin opens up on my bishop and my king, and I'm actually just going to be losing the piece. So I was really concerned about stuff like this, trying to figure out if it's going to work or not. And I ended up thinking about some idea to play this move bishop e4 right away. And the point of bishop e4 right away, which I ended up playing in the game, is that I'm going to be taking this knight off the board. This is what's going to be happening. I'm going to take this knight off the board. My opponent's going to be taking my pawns. I might be having like some weakness on this square, but I thought that I'd be able to be fine in the long run, and actually I'm able to do that. My opponent's really only way to play here is not to take this pawn. You don't want to take this. You really shouldn't be taking this, because taking this kind of offers me to give you some isolated c pawns, and it can get bad pretty quickly if you allow me to do like stuff like that. So really what the computer wants him to do is just castle, and after bishop takes here, my opponent just gonna argue that he has the bishop pair. I'm probably going to play a move like castles, and it's gonna get bad pretty quickly. A move like pawn to c5 is already available. Takes, I don't know, de. This pawn is weak. This pawn is also kind of weak, and I don't know, maybe I can survive this, but probably not. Like b4, a5 makes a lot of sense. Let's say a3. Already my opponent wins with e4. Even here, e4. Why is this not working? Oh, I can just sack my rook. Okay, great. Anyway, but my opponent doesn't realize that. My opponent doesn't realize the little nuances in the position, and he plays the move d takes e5, which already, in my opinion, gives white a very easy game, and it allows me to play very simple chess after bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and the move d takes e5. I was considering this move knight takes e5 as well, but I thought that knight takes e5 was considerably worse, since my opponent can already play this move pawn to c5. If you're wondering what that is, that's my computer going ballistic for some reason. I'm going to close some tabs, so then we're a little bit okay here. I hope that, okay, that seems like it solved things a little bit. In any case, my idea is that I'm going to be, if I take with a knight, my opponent's idea is going to be pawn to c5. I can't take with the pawn since bishop takes. If I move my knight back, then my knight's going to be stuck in the center. He's going to get rid of his weakness, and I didn't want that. I didn't want him to get rid of his weakness at the end of the day. So I decided to take with the pawn. My opponent thinks for a little bit. I thought my opponent was going to play a move like queen here or bishop a6. This is what I thought he was going to play, like something like bishop a6. Actually, bishop a6, now that I look at it, doesn't work at all because of queen a4. But okay, I was considering bishop a6, and I was going to play pawn to b3. After like queen b5, I have to like do some wacky stuff like queen b3. He can play like rook b8, takes, and b3. And I was trying to find some way to make that work. I could put that on the board for you all right now, like queen b5. I was thinking queen b3, and I was considering the best move, which was c5. I don't know why I didn't look at this more deeply, because yeah, c5 makes a lot of sense. I don't know, maybe I was going to play something else. Maybe here I was going to play a move like queen e2, but I just thought bishop a6 loses for me. So after queen b4, I have to play the move, I have to play queen a4. This is the point. This is the point. And of course, after this move, now I take this. No, I don't. No, I have to sack my knight, play king e2, and play this position. And this is actually just bad for my opponent, since I'm threatening to trap his queen. With rook c1. This is what the computer likes. I'm threatening to trap his queen, and I'm threatening the pawn here. So it's very dangerous for my opponent. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. In any case, my opponent didn't go for that. He went for straight castles, and after short castles, I thought that all my problems were done, and white just had a very clear advantage. However, I am incorrect, because computer gives it as only equal. Pawn to c5 is another move that I didn't really like for my opponent, because it felt like he's putting this pawn on a square where it's going to be harder for him to defend it, because he's going to have to play a move like bishop f8 to defend it. It can't be defended with pawns anymore, and of course the farther you push your pawns, the weaker they are going to be in most cases. So I don't think long here. I play the move queen e8. I actually think for a minute here, but I do end up playing the move queen e2. This move just seems pretty simple, putting my queen on a good square where it defends all three of my pawns, and then I'm going to play a move like rook fe1, rook ad1. I'm going to be fine. My opponent goes bishop to b7. I play a move rook fe1 because I have to. If I don't play move rook fb1, if I go like rook ad1, then he can take. And after queen takes, I would lose the pawn here. So I'd have to take with the pawn, and then I'm going to lose the pawn anyway with queen g5, and I lose like this. So I didn't really enjoy that, so okay. I play rook fe1, and now the point is, if he takes my knight, then I'm going to recapture the queen, and my rook will defend the pawn on d5. e5, sorry, on e5. So rook fe1, my opponent goes rook fd8, and I think for a while, and I find this really interesting move, which already felt to me like I was cementing my advantage, and I felt like I was getting a great position, and I was going into a great endgame. Computer laughs in the face of all this. Computer thinks that like black is fine, but I really don't believe that. I play this move knight e4, which I'm really happy with. I'm really happy with this move knight e4. And the point is that in the long run, I'm just going to go after this pawn. I'm going to go queen e3 on the next move. I'm going to go after this pawn. He has nothing here. If he trades bishop for knight, which I thought maybe he has to do, like I just thought my position's amazing. Like, what are you going to do? Rook a b8. I'm going to play a move like b3. You're going to play a5. And I'm going to come in with like queen c6. This was like my idea. I'm going to play like queen c6. I'm going to do some stuff like this. It's going to get bad for my opponent. I don't know how you're going to be able to survive this. Computer already wants to sack the pawns. But I mean, this is already very, very difficult to do for a human. And I would assume that for a human, this is practically very bad for black. So instead, my opponent thinks for a very long time, and you might notice in this position, I'm already up 3 minutes on the clock. My opponent thinks for more, and he decides that the only way to get anything in this position is to sacrifice his rook with the move rook d4. A move that I don't really believe. I don't think this is a very strong move, because I don't really see the compensation he gets from sacrificing his rook. It just seems like white is winning. But okay, I decide, okay, I'm going to accept the rook. He takes with the pawn. He takes with the pawn after 30 seconds, by the way. And I think for a little bit. There's a couple things I want to do. I'm considering this move knight f6. In retrospect, I should have played knight f6 immediately, and probably I wouldn't have lost this game if I had played knight f6. I was really considering these two moves, knight d2. This was like a move that I was considering for a while, and this move pawn to f4, which made sense to me. But I didn't really know which one was better. I thought that knight d2 made a little less sense, because now it feels like I'm opening up his light-scored bishop, and f4 I thought made sense because my knight is in the center. It stays in the center. If a piece is good in the center, you probably shouldn't take it out, right? Like just classical principles. So I decided to play the move f4, which is like the first inaccuracy of the bunch. In fact, actually, knight d2 is a worse move than f4. Knight f6 is the top engine line to sack a pawn and go with like a move like queen e5. And after the queen trade, I was actually looking at this position, and I knew that white was better. I could tell that white was probably winning in this position. But for some reason, I decided to go with the option that keeps more pieces on the board. I really don't know why I did this, but f4, my opponent goes rook d8, and I play the move queen to d3, which is also very, very standard. Just stopping this pawn from getting pushed anymore, and I just thought, okay, I'm doing quite well. My opponent's going to play some like crazy idea with pawn to g5, but again, I should be fine at the end of the day. I should be okay. Like, I don't see any advantage for my opponent, so I'll probably win pretty straightforwardly. But my opponent goes g5. Of course he goes g5. He really has nothing else. He spends 30 seconds on this move of his 1:50 left and goes g5. And now I have to think for a while. The top engine move here doesn't make much sense to me based on my last move, and I don't think I would have played this if I had thought about it in the game. It's this move queen to g3, which doesn't make sense. And the reason why it doesn't make sense is because I just put my queen here to stop this pawn from being pushed. If I go to g3, now the pawn can be pushed again. So I just didn't like understand why that would be okay. Also, move queen f3 is possible here. I don't know why I would do this walking into this pin. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the computer is on, but I would like to have some. Instead, I think for a little bit, and I play the third line, which is f takes g5, which makes a lot of sense. And the point is that, okay, I was calculating this. I'm sure he's going to take this pawn here. If he takes the pawn here, I can probably just play a move like queen g3 now. And now queen g3 makes perfect sense since I'm going after the pawns and defending my own pawn. I should be fine. I was also thinking about knight f6 in that position. Bishop takes, queen takes, and something, really just something, maybe like, I don't know, rook f1, no, maybe rook ad1, rook d2, rook f1, something like that, and play a position like that. But after bishop takes e5, I kind of realize that my original plan didn't really work like to what I thought I had something better here than my original plan, because I was calculating this position, and my intention originally was to be like, oh, this is so dangerous, the bishops are going against me, let's try to trade some pieces immediately, let's go knight f6, which, if I'm being honest, is the responsible move, and it's what I should have played. Instead, I think knight f6 is +1, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, +1. It's not the best move, but it's okay. But the reason why I didn't like this position, and the reason why I didn't go for this, is because I just thought, why am I letting him have 2 pawns? Like, he has 2 connected passed pawns here. I thought, okay, white is probably better, but this is getting like dangerous at this point, and like the end games I'm not entirely sure of anymore. Like, if he gets these pawns moving, it could get bad, and I was kind of getting in my own head. So I didn't go for this, but already the position's very difficult. The computer immediately gives pawn to b4. I can't explain this move. I have no idea what this move does. Like, it's just absurd. I have no idea what this move does. I guess the computer just says that white has absolutely nothing and is trying to kind of well, I guess I can't take the, no, I can though, because here after rook a b1, what's wrong with bishop takes e4? Oh, I'm just trading pieces. This is it. I mean, again, I have no idea why any of this is the top engine line. This doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. I mean, whatever. Chess is weird. In any case, I think for a little bit, and I kind of convinced myself that g takes h6 is okay, because I was calculating, okay, queen h4, I'm going to be okay after queen h4. I believe I had a tactic. I believe I had to move knight g3. This is why I calculated takes, queen h4, knight g3. And I was like, oh, this position is fine. Actually, here I immediately have to move pawn to g3. But I wasn't really looking at that. Maybe I would have found it during the game. But I just thought knight g3, I'm doing fine. My opponent's probably going to have to take this pawn. In a little bit, he's going to have to move his bishop first. Maybe he goes f6. Yeah, maybe f6. No, f6 allows queen g6, of course, yeah. So, I mean, this move doesn't make much sense. Oh, immediately I have this. That's very nice. Takes and queen g6, and I'm just mating him, yeah. Rook f1, queen here, this is mate. In any case, that didn't happen. My opponent immediately played this move that I didn't consider, which is the move king h8, which makes a lot of sense. And my position is getting very, very dangerous. If I go with the move that looks like it stops a lot of black's plans, which is the move queen h3, actually, I think my opponent is winning after the move pawn to d6. We can look at that. Queen h3. Yeah, my opponent can probably... Oh, no. Actually, this move is wrong because of rook a d1, and I'm, like, not getting mated somehow. But actually, my opponent is better here after even the very, very simple move rook g8. And I'm doing this incorrectly. So I actually play a better move than that, which is the move pawn to g3, which is the top engine move. By the way, the computer at this depth gives g3 as top engine move. Game review says something different. It doesn't really matter. Pawn to g3 is the best move. My opponent goes rook g8. And here I have to be very careful. I have to be very cautious. And I am doing a good job of that. I'm using my time wisely. I'm trying to figure everything out. I play this move rook to e2, which made a lot of sense to me. And the point is that now I'm going to probably put the rook on g2. I'm going to go here. I'm going to solidify my knight. Life is going to be good, and I'm going to do well. And after this move pawn to f5, Actually, my opponent makes a huge mistake, and I found the move. I found how to trade pieces in this position, which is actually extremely helpful to me. And I play this move, knight to g5. And I'm sure my opponent didn't see that, because if he goes bishop f6, I think I'm already just winning. I like completely win with rook e6. And my opponent has nothing. He goes here. I don't know, like I should have lots of things. Queen f5, yeah, like I'm just completely winning. So I was really happy with knight g5, and I just thought, okay, the game's over. Knight g5, game's over. He has nothing. I'm up 2 minutes on the clock. I'm gonna win the game. It's GG's, resign. But actually, my opponent plays on here, and the position gets really dicey really quickly. Queen g5, rook takes e5. Obviously, white is completely winning. My opponent has 46 seconds on the clock. There's no way that I should lose this position, ever. But he takes on h6. He doesn't resign, takes on h6. He defends his pawn here. A very nice move. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should play this move. No, after h4, I think there's f4. f4? No, queen f4. Yeah, queen f4. That's how the cookie crumbles, yeah. That would be bad. And if I go queen d4, which is actually the engine's choice, I don't know, for some reason I was spooking myself. Maybe I just didn't see this move. I don't know, but queen d4 is just the best move. I think I just win after queen d4. But what I was scared of was this move rook g3. But actually here, I'm like just not mated. Like I'm fine. Like I can just sack my rook. If he takes this, he probably gets mated somehow. Or I can just win his bishop with rook b5 at the very least. So this is just bad play, and if I went with queen d4, game over. I think I just win every single time. Instead I played rook a1, which also makes sense and keeps my advantage, putting pressure on the pawn. I thought I had time to do this. When it goes queen h3, and now I make my fatal mistake of the game. I realize that now he's threatening to move rook g3. If I move my queen, he's threatening to move rook g3, and of course he's threatening queen g2 mate. So I have to stop that. I can't stop it with the queen, so I can't go queen f1. I can't go queen f1 because of rook g3. Takes and check here, mate. And I can't do it with the other piece, and I have to do it with the rook. I have to stop queen g2 with a rook. But I choose wrong, and I'm really disappointed in myself for this move. I could have played the move rook e2, rook 1 e2, and I would have won the game. I mean, it's still dicey here. Actually, after f4, it can get kind of scary. But actually, this is fine again. There's nothing here. If I take with the pawn, he gets mated immediately with rook h5. And if he goes here, I'm just fine. I didn't see this. I was still scaring myself. He's already out of checks. I guess queen g3 is a check. But like here, he's out of checks, and it's over. So I didn't see this either. In any case, I played the move rook 5 e2. And as you can see, it's back to equal. But I'd say that really it's back to just black winning because this is bad. The reason why rook 5 e2 is bad and rook 1 e2 is good is because in the rook 1 e2 section, I have this square for my king. When my king eventually runs, I can come here, and when I come here with the rooks, now these rooks make a little wall for my king that it can't really get past with this pawn here. And the reason why I played rook 5 e2 makes a lot of sense. It's because I thought, okay, this pawn is hanging with check now. That's why I did it. But okay, anyway, rook 5 e2. My opponent goes c5, which is just a huge mistake. I don't know why he didn't play e5. So this is really the only move I was calculating, and I thought that, okay, I might be able to survive, but already it gets very dicey. The only move was rook f1, otherwise it's -4 immediately. And besides that, I mean, I don't know, like it's dangerous. Instead, my opponent goes c5, and I make another really large mistake. Rook f1. I should have played rook f1. Instead of this move, I decided to go with rook f2, which has the same idea, but this one is -7 and the other one is equal. Is actually better for white. After rook f1, the reason why this is so good is because this rook 1, it can move. This rook can't move because it's guarding this pawn in this square, so this rook can actually move. f2. Now, with the inclusion of rook f1 instead of rook f2, my king has the way to escape like this. And with rook f2 on the board, with rook f2 in the game, my king can't really do this because the queen is already able to go to h1, plus he defends this f1 square right now. So this is just a fatal mistake. My opponent goes f4, which is a very nice move. Also, I would be able to stop f4. I can just take now with rook f1. Rook f2, I can't stop f4, I can't take because of course queen g2 is mate. So I have to be very careful. I play the move rook e2. It's now officially completely lost. Mate in7 for my opponent, but I'm banking on the fact that my opponent won't find it since he only has 25 seconds on the clock. Rook takes g3. I realize that I've messed up. I can't take with the pawn because of queen h1 mate, which I hadn't really considered until then. So I have to sack my queen. My opponent takes with the pawn, and I make another error. I think that the practical way to play this, while going against his time, going against his clock, probably I should play anything besides rook g2, which is the move that I ended up playing. Even though I think rook g2 is the best move, it's mate in 23 after rook g2. And everything else is mate in 21, mate in 14. I think probably a move like rook f6 is significantly better, or rook f8 check is significantly better, because in this line I'm not trading pieces, and pieces are, and I'm probably going to be able to survive. Rook g2 makes it too simple for my opponent, and he figures out this line that I didn't see, because I played this in 10 seconds, and he spends a couple seconds on this, and he finds this move queen g2, which I missed after king g2, gh2, king h2 here, 70 seconds to 140, he's going to make a queen, I'm going to lose the game. We play on a little bit, but I ended up getting mated, with my opponent only have 11 seconds on the clock. And this is really embarrassing. I don't think I should have lost this game. Like, all the way, if I just played rook 1 e2, I would have won 10 times out of 10. Or if I had played the move, here's another chance. If I played rook f1 and not played rook f2 like a complete idiot in 10 seconds, if I spent like 5 more seconds, I could have played rook f1. But okay, whatever. What are we doing here? Rook f1. Can we go back to the lines? Here. If I played rook f1, I probably would have been able to survive as well, and probably just win the game after a move like king f2, king g1, which another concept that I missed, which is the idea to run my king away, and it's just embarrassing. In any case, that's all I've got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this entertaining, instructive, all the above. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTubers tell you to do, and yeah, that's it. Good evening and good night.